lefana birnana, lefana birnana. Ivdu et Hashem basimcha, ivdu et Hashem basimcha. Bo lefana birnana, lefana birnana. Yadadai, dididai, 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 yadidai, dididai, 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 yadidai, yadadadadai, dididai, 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 yadidai, dididai, 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 ay, ay, yadadadadai. Ivdu et Hashem basimcha, ivdu et Hashem basimcha, bo lefana birnana, lefana birnana. Okay, so thank you for joining me for the pre-neg, the pre-Shabbos oneg. And before we light the candles, I just want to say right after this, we move into, from this same link, we move into a service with Rabbi Ruchi and David Bastior for, Rabbi David Bastior for Kabbalat Shabbat. So you can just stay right here. And I also want to say just before we light the candles that if you are one of the many people in the Pacific Northwest who is single and wishing you could find your beshert somewhere in the Northwest, if you're one of those people, and I know there's several in my community, this weekend we have an opportunity to start a Pacific Northwest singles group. So if you are one of those people at some point during this weekend or afterwards, you can contact me to get on that list of people, and we'll be trying to connect people from as far south as Ashland to as far north as Seattle. So please consider doing that, and you're welcome to share with me other people's names as well if you want me to reach out to them. Okay, so gonna take a moment here to just settle into Shabbat. Trying to imagine the world is actually complete right now. It's totally whole, it's finished. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Okay, good Shabbos, everyone. So nice to see new faces and see also my people out there in Salem. Hello to everyone. And now we'll move on to the next part of our evening.
Shabbat Shalom, friends. Thank you, Herb in Salem. Shabbat Shalom, friends. Again, and it sounds like my sound just kicked on, so thank you to Rabbi Eli Herb in Salem for warming us up, lighting us up together, bringing us into Shabbat. I'm Rabbi Ruchi Sophia Matzkin-Rubenstein, and welcome virtually to our sanctuary at Temple Beth Israel here in Eugene. With me tonight are members of our house band, Vic Hansen and David Helfand, and my sister, Shira, who has been co-leading services with me throughout this pandemic. We're so excited to be celebrating with all of you far and wide. So, Rabbi Eli has warmed us up considerably already, thank you, but we'll do another nigun to help ourselves settle in, and for those of you who just joined the YouTube stream, to help you arrive. This is a tune by Joey Weisenberg, a song of arrival. Ay, ay, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, ay, ay, la la, ay, ya la, ya la la, ay, ay, ya la la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la, ya la, ay, ay, ya la la, ay, ay, ya la. Ay, ay, la, 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 ay, ay, la, 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 ay, ay, la, ya, la, 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 ay, ay, ya, la, 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 hey, ay, ay, hey, ay, ya, la, 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 hey, ay, ay, hey, ay, ya, la, 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 hey, ya, la, 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 ay, ya, la. We turn to page 7 in our Kol HaNeshama, our Reconstructionist Sidur, or if you are using the online PDF version, it should be page 37. All the pages in that version are 30 pages ahead. Page 9, if you need transliteration, the Hebrew words with English characters. And I invite you to invoke the idea of a beloved that we are meeting as Shabbat begins. A beloved friend, a beloved part of ourselves. Whatever sort of beloved you need to be met by as we go into Shabbat. As we sing Yedid Nefesh. Yedid nefesh av harachaman, Yedid nefesh av harachaman, meshochol decha, el retzonecha, meshochol decha, ya la 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 la. Suf As we move into our Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, of receiving Shabbat, we sing Lechune Ranana on page 21. Come, let us sing out. And the translation on page 20 says, sing in ecstasy, but I would translate Lechune Ranana as just sing out full of deep feeling. Whatever it is that is fueling your prayer this evening, whether you are feeling joy at the rain that's falling here in Eugene, the bursting signs of springtime, whether you're feeling grief, and I saw someone mentioned in the chat already the tragedy on Har Meron in Sfat last night as part of their Lag BaOmer celebrations. We should hold their memories close. These songs of Kabbalat Shabbat come to us from the mystics of Sfat hundreds of years ago who would dance in the field. So lifting up all of it, the joy, the grief, all of what we might be bringing to our Shabbat experience as we sing these words. And I also want to encourage you as you are tuning in. I know several people, as Rabbi Eli was leading candle lighting, have already chatted in Shabbat Shalom and your reflections. But if you have tuned in since then, please wish us Shabbat Shalom. Tell us where you're tuning in from so that we can get a sense of the virtual community that we are creating, whether you're tuning in via Zoom or YouTube. It's nice to know we're all out here. So with whatever you've got, come let us sing. Lechune Ranana L'Adonai Nariya Letzor Yishenu Nekadma Fana Betoda Bizmirot Nariyah. Come, let us sing in ecstasy. Let us sing a new song, or as it may be, an old song, as if it were a new song. And please feel free to get up and dance wherever you are and to lend whatever creative harmonies you want to lend to Shira and my song. Page 25. And as we turn the page to the end of the psalm, we remember we in the human world are not alone in our praise. The skies also rejoice. They're certainly rejoicing here in Eugene this evening. And the earth and the sea roars. So we turn to page 27. And I really encourage you, even if you don't have any children in your household, and we often feel like we need the presence of children to give us permission to look silly, I encourage you, whether or not you are able to stand up, to dance this song with your whole body as if you are dancing with the trees and the skies, to wave your arms and wiggle your hips as we sing about how the heavens are very glad and the earth is so happy and the ocean is full and laughing. If you need to turn off your Zoom camera in order to feel confident doing this, do it. Get silly. Rejoice with the heavens and earth. ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ירם הים, ירם הים, ירם הים ומלואו. 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 The heavens are very glad. The heavens are very glad. The heavens are very glad. The earth is so happy. The heavens are very glad. The heavens are very glad. The heavens are very glad. The earth is so happy. The ocean is full. The ocean is full. The ocean is full and laughing. The ocean is full. The ocean is full. The ocean is full and laughing. The ocean is full. The ocean is full. The ocean is full and laughing. The ocean is full. The ocean is full. The ocean is full and laughing. ישמחו השמיים. ישמחו השמיים. השמיים. ישמחו השמיים. ותגל הארץ. Oh man, where's our water? Oh yes, there it is. And I hope you are full and laughing too. We turn to page 31. Thank you, Shara. And as we sing Or Zarua, light is sown for the righteous or for righteousness, we think about how there are the seeds of righteousness everywhere, and sometimes it really does just feel like a seed that has barely germinated. So, Or Zarua Latzadik, it is aspirational to say that there are these seeds of righteousness sown everywhere. And it is also a commitment to notice them, to take part in them, to plant them ourselves. So I invite you to reflect, and if you would like, even if you're willing, share in the chat. What seeds of righteousness have you noticed maybe germinating in this past week? What seeds of righteousness have you planted or do you intend to plant? Or zaru ala tzadik uleishre simcha. Or zaru ala tzadik uleishre simcha. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai v'hodu lezecher kodsho. Simchu tzadikim b'Adonai v'hodu lezecher kodsho. Page 37. This tune comes from the Nava Tehillah community in Jerusalem. Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kivod shemo, Ishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, Yalalai, ay, 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 yalalai. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arze havanon, Vayarkidei kemo egel Lebanon v'Sirion kemo vein re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev labotesh, ay alay lay, ay lay alay lay, ay alay lay lay, ay alay lay, ay alay lay lay, ay alay lay, ay alay lay, ay alay lay lay, alay lay, ay alay lay, ay alay, ay ay, ay alay lay. Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayachesov ye'arot, uvehechalo kulo merkabot. Ay ay lay, ay ay, ay ay lay lay lay. Adonai lamabul yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Ay alay lay, ay ay alay lay, ay alay lay lay, ay alay lay, ay alay lay lay, ay alay lay, ay alay lay lay lay, alay lay. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. So I invite us at this moment to do a spiritual and physical posture check. Just note, how are we different? How are we inhabiting ourselves, our space, our souls differently after a half hour or so of warming up towards Shabbat? Are we open-hearted? Are we somewhat relaxed? What do we need to be able to fully arrive ourselves into Shabbat, to fully be able to allow Shabbat to arrive within us? So we turn to page 41, and I encourage us to dedicate our singing of Lecha Dodi to that intention of whatever is left that still needs to be set aside, that still needs to be pulled in or cleared out, that we do this as we encourage each other, beloveds, to greet the Shabbat presence.
Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor bediborecha, hishmianu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem u'letiferet ve'litchila, olecha dodi likrat kala, hanei Shabbat nekabela, olecha dodi likrat kala, hanei Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, meirosh mikedem nesucha, sof maseh b'machshava tchila, olecha dodi likrat kala, hanei Shabbat nekabela, olecha dodi likrat kala, hanei Shabbat nekabela.
Page 45.
Hitoreri, wake up, ki va'orech, kumi ori, your light is shining, uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla, olecha dodi likrat kala, hanei Shabbat nekabela.
7. Yamin u'smol, tifrosi, Veit Adonai taritzi, al yad ish ben partzi, ben ismecha, ben nagila, olecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, olecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha u'v'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, olecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, olecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. And as soon as we've welcomed Shabbat in, we have Psalm 92, the Song of Shabbat, on page 49, and the first words after a Psalm of Shabbat are this reminder, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it is so good to give thanks. The rest of the week is for doing, as Rabbi Eli said earlier, is for striving, is for fixing. And on Shabbat, it is good to notice what is right, what is good, and to give thanks. So the Temple Beth Israel community is already accustomed to hearing me ask every week, not as a rhetorical question, but expecting to see some answers. What are you grateful for? And I ask you all, whether you're tuning in Seattle or Olympia or Portland or Salem or Bend or Ashland or here or any points in between or beyond, what are you grateful for as we enter this Shabbat? I am grateful for the ways that we have created this extended community. And I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I'm grateful for Rabbi Eli.
I am grateful for Rabbi Eli too, and for all of my Pacific Northwest Reconstructionist colleagues. I'm grateful for Dan Weber, who is running the streaming on our end of this service, and all the different tech volunteers who are helping to make this happen. And I'm grateful for lilacs. I don't know about the rest of you, but every time I've taken a walk this week, I've had to stop every block or two just to smell these amazing lilacs. I think the season is passing its peak, and it is such a small season, but it's all the more necessary for that to enjoy it while they're here. So whatever it is, whether it is trivial seeming, ephemeral, something long-lasting, something very deep, it is good to give thanks. Page 49. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, leagid baboker הבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. Thank you all for journeying into Shabbat with us here at Temple Beth Israel in Eugene. And as the sun gets very close to setting, the timing is perfect for moving into our Ma'ariv, our evening service. So I turn things over to my colleague, Rabbi Seth Goldstein in Olympia, Washington at Beit HaTfilah to lead us into Ma'ariv, the evening service.
Beautiful. Such a beautiful and heartwarming Kabbalat Shabbat. Thank you, Rabbi Ruchi Sophia, and everybody at TBI in Eugene. And as we move into Ma'ariv, I just invite you to lower your standards when it comes to production values as we move into this evening service tonight. It's so wonderful to be here, to be with everyone, to see this coming together of communities, as Rabbi Ruchi Sophia said, Rabbi Seth Goldstein coming from the sanctuary here in Olympia, Washington at Temple Beth HaTfilah. And this is so uplifting to see everybody here joining together. So as we move into our Ma'ariv service, I have the custom of offering some words of poetry as kavanah, as intention for Shabbat. And so as we move into Ma'ariv, I offer you these words as spring is bursting forth, as we know. This is a poem by the poet Rose King, and it's called In Spring. I'm out with the wheelbarrow mixing mulch. A mockingbird trills in the pine. Then from higher, a buzz, and through patches of blue as the fog burns off, a small plane pulls a banner, red letters I can't read. But I do see over the fence a man in a sky blue shirt walking his dog to the beach. He says he missed it. We'll keep an eye out. 4 barrows of mulch around the blueberry bushes. I'm pulling off gloves and he's back, beaming. It says, I love you, Martha. Are you Martha? So as we move into this Ma'ariv service, we keep ourselves open to receiving those messages, whether they come pulled from a plane in the sky or just wherever you might find them. Are you Martha? Perhaps there's a message waiting for you. So we turn to the Ma'ariv service, the heart of the evening service, as we turn to the Baruch Hu on page 57. It's customary to rise as able in body or spirit and to turn to face the eastern wall, if that is the eastern direction, if that's possible for you. And I found that during this time that we are physically distant from one another in our different sacred spaces, wherever we are. In this way, we are all now facing the same direction. Intentional as one community. So if that is meaningful for you, I invite you to turn to face the east. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. May be seated if you're standing. And we turn to Asher Bidvaro, God in nature, Ma'ariv Aravim. Rabbi Ruchi Sophia already introduced us to gratitude, to attune ourselves to gratitude. So this bracha of gratitude following the Baruch Hu is gratitude for nature, for the cycles of time and the seasons. So I want to invite you to think back to your past week since last Shabbat and think about a moment of connection with the natural world around us. A time that you felt awed and inspired by the natural world, or felt moved, challenged by perhaps a meaningful connection you had with the natural world around us. And as you think about those moments, if you wish to share them into the chat, I invite you to do so. I invite you to talk, as we've been doing already, to continue to talk throughout all of services tonight as you offer your reflections. But specifically now, if you have a moment of connection with the natural world from the last Shabbat to this one that you want to share with us this evening, I invite you to do so. Put it into the chat and we'll create a beautiful tapestry of images of nature, of creation. Beautiful. Rescue chickens and dogs and birds. Big moon, beautiful rivers, sage, wild rabbits, goslings, beautiful. Lilacs, creek walking. So take it all in, read what your fellow community members are sharing. As we open up our hearts in gratitude for all of the beauty and the wonder that surrounds us. Uma'aviyahu mumehevi laila mavdil ben yom uvein laila adonai tzavaot shemo achai v'kayam tamidim lochalenu le'olam va'eched baruch ata adonai hama'ari v'arahavi. Beautiful. Continue to share Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael as we move from nature, from the beauty and the wonder and the vastness and the chaos of the natural world around us, to ahava, to love, to sacred relationship and connection. And we know that one of the ways that we find our place within the vastness of this world is through all of our relationships that help define who we are. So our second prayer of gratitude for love, I invite you to think back again to last Shabbat, think through this past week, and think about a moment of meaningful relationship that you had with another person, another human being. It could be reconnecting with an old friend, it could be deepening a relationship that you already have. It could be a stranger who paid you a kindness, did you a service, administered a vaccine. So I invite you to think about these moments. These can be personal, so if you don't want to share them, you don't have to, but just to bring it to heart, bring it to mind. Knowing too that we have many webs of relationships that help define our place in this world. Just think about one in particular that had meaning for you this past week. As we open up our hearts in gratitude for love, ahava, for all the love that we are blessed to give and that we are blessed to receive. Ki hem chayinu v'yorech yameinu, v'vahem negeh yomam v'layla, v'avatecha lo tatsu mimenu le'olamihi, baruch ata Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. And our connections with the natural world around us, the connections with each other, remind us that we are all part of one interconnected web of relationships and connections, that we are all echad, we are all one. As we turn to page 65, we recognize and name the oneness of all things, of all life with the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinata ham levanecha v'dibaharta baham v'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha havaderech Uv'shachbecha v'kumecha, ukshatam le'ot ayadecha, v'hayu l'totafot beinenecha, uchtavtaham Amezuzot beitecha v'hisharecha. So we continue silently with the biblical selections on the following pages, or just take a few more moments reflecting on that idea of unity, of oneness, of interconnectedness of all things. Leman tizkeruhu v'asitem et kol mitzvotahay v'aytem kedoshim l'Elokechem ani hi Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem l'Elohim ani hi Adonai Elohechem Amen. So as we went from offered gratitude for nature, gratitude for love, now through the Shmas, now we move towards redemption and transformation and change. So once again, I invite you to think back to your past week since last Shabbat and think about a moment of transformation that you experienced this past week. A moment of growth, a moment of change. It could be a new experience, a new learning, a new insight, or perhaps you assisted somebody in their growth and change by teaching, by showing, or maybe you contributed to the transformation of our world. So whatever that moment was for you of transformation this past week, I invite you to bring that to mind, to heart and to mind. And we open up our hearts in gratitude for that sacred power we have within us to grow and to change, to transform ourselves and transform our world. And we offer those ancient words of transformation that our ancestors sang at the Sea of Reeds on the bottom of page 77. Moshe u'Miriam avnei Yisrael lecha'anu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh nohora tehilot oseh feheleh malchutecha ra'u v'necha okei yam lifnei Moshe ze eli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed V'ne'emar ki fadad Adonai et Yaakov u'galo miyad chazak mimeni Baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. And with the Hashkivenu on the next page, we turn our attention to peace, to shalom. And we ask ourselves, what is peace? What is shalom? What is your vision of peace? What is your vision of peace within yourself? What is your vision of peace in your close relationships? What is your vision of peace in your homes, in your families, in your communities? What is your vision of peace for our country? And what is your vision of peace for our world? And as we create these visions of peace, we commit ourselves to work towards those visions so they become realities. And we pray as well, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, God spread over us your shelter of peace. Give us the strength that we need to build the world that we want. Page 81. Ufros aleinu sukan, sukan, shelomecha. Ufros aleinu sukan, sukan, shelomecha. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. And one vision of peace is the day of Shabbat itself, this time that we get to pause, focus on our blessings, on gratitude. So we declare this day of Shabbat on page 85. You can rise as able in body or spirit as we declare this day of Shabbat with the Veshamru, page 85. Veshameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam peridolam. Yai dai dai beni uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashivi Shabbat vayinafash. Now we have the opportunity this Shabbat to offer our own prayers, our own silent prayers with the Amidah. So once again, I'm going to invite you to rise as able in body or spirit, and perhaps if the Spirit moves you to turn to face the east, once again, wherever that is for you. And we could open the Amidah together with the opening Kavanah, Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, and afterwards we'll continue in silence. If you're in the Siddur, the Amidah continues through page 107. Please feel free to use the words on the page or else use the prayer that is in your own heart this Shabbat. Remember, this is your time. It's your time, so use it in a way that is meaningful for you. Oh God, open up my lips and my mouth shall declare your praise. Oh God, open up my lips and my mouth shall declare your praise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi tehilatecha. still in the middle of your silent prayer, please continue. Take all the time and the space that you need. And as we move out of our individual spaces back to our community, we once again turn our attention to peace as we offer the Oseh Shalom on page 107, the last stanza of the Hebrew, the fourth line of transliteration. You can join with the seagulls that are right outside, as Anjali mentioned. If you hear them, they're joining along. They're our choir. Rabbi Ruchi Sophia had her sister. I have seagulls. You take what you can get. So, as Rabbi Ruchi Sophia mentioned, a tune from Nava Tehillah. This too is from Nava Tehillah, the Oseh Shalom, again, page 107. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, yai la 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 la, yai la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Oh Oseh Shalom bimromav, Uyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Again, this is such a blessing. What an amazing thing for us to come to, oops, I'll get this down, for us to come together, these communities, joining together in this Shabbaton. We've come together a number of times over this pandemic time, and it's such a beautiful thing to draw together the Pacific Northwest Reconstructionist congregations and then coming to this Shabbaton. And over the course of the Shabbat, we'll hear from our different leaders locally, but we're so blessed to have with us over the course of this Shabbat, Rabbi Mira Wasserman from the RRC. We all know that our 7 congregations in the Northwest are headed up by brilliant and erudite and scholarly rabbis. And we thought that, well, you know, you've probably heard enough of us from us. So we wanted to bring in somebody new. So we're so blessed to have Rabbi Mira with us. And I'll say in advance, we gave the offer to pre-record something, at least for Friday night, because we know it's a little late on the East Coast, but she wanted to do it live. So we're so blessed to have Mira, Rabbi Mira here with us. And here I am, going to bring you the spotlight.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thanks for the warm welcome. What a glorious Shabbaton so far. I am so grateful for, you have some amazing rabbis out there in the Pacific Northwest, Reconstructionists. So I'm grateful for the rabbis from the Preneg to the Kabbalat Shabbat to the Ma'ariv. I'm grateful for the sister and the seagulls. And you've created this beautiful poetry, all of you in the chat, which is an inspiration. So I'm really pleased to be able to be here. And I bring you warm greetings from my colleagues at Reconstructing Judaism and at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College. At first, I was sad that the way things are, I wouldn't be able to be with you in person, but it actually is such a delight to be able to do it this way, and that I get to peek into so many congregations doing this shul hopping. So I'm really pleased to be with you. When I first looked at the calendar for your Shabbaton and realized that we'd have the chance to study together just hours after the passing of one of my favorite days in the Jewish calendar, Lag BaOmer, I decided to take Lag BaOmer as my inspiration for the learning that we would do together. And I thought Friday night, I would give a brief overview of the history of this holiday. And tomorrow, we have some more extended time for Talmud study, for some interactive learning. And that's when I really wanted to delve into some of the social justice themes about politics and power and freedom that come up in the Talmud's account of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the rabbi who is perhaps most associated along with Rabbi Akiva, with this holiday. And then this terrible tragedy happened. And we've already heard mention, there was a terrible loss of life among Jews who were making a pilgrimage to honor Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So I'm still inspired by the meanings of Lag BaOmer tonight, and I'll share some of those inspirations with you. And I invite you to hold close to your heart the families who were grief-stricken tonight, and all those who've been injured and are in need of healing. So Lag BaOmer means something a little different than I thought it would, but it means something different this year anyway, for reasons that I'd like to briefly explore with you. So what is Lag BaOmer, and why do I love it? Now, Lag BaOmer is a holiday whose actual origins are unclear, and so studying it is an invitation into both history and mystery. Like other occasions established by the rabbis, like Tu B'Shvat and Tisha B'Av, the name Lag BaOmer is simply a reference to the calendar. In this case, Lag BaOmer means the 33rd day of the Omer being that biblically ordained count of the 7 weeks that link Passover to Shavuot. Since the Middle Ages, these days of counting have been observed as a time of semi-mourning, when Jews traditionally would refrain from celebrating weddings, from having concerts, and even from haircuts. But Lag BaOmer was the one day in the season to take a break, to get outside for picnics and sports and music and celebration. What exactly happened historically on Lag BaOmer to make it such a happy holiday? That is the part that leaves scholars scratching their heads. But one reason that I love this holiday is that it belongs to my period of history. So one of my jobs at RRC is to teach rabbinic civilization. And I spend a lot of time with the ancient sages who are credited with establishing this holiday of Lag BaOmer. But actually, the day itself, Lag BaOmer, is never mentioned in any of the rabbinic sources that I study or teach. It is later commentators who propose that a mysterious event that is mentioned in the Talmud happened on this day of Lag BaOmer. The Talmud itself, it turns out, tells us very little. What the Talmud does say is that 24,000 of Rabbi Akiva, the great Rabbi Akiva, 24,000 of his students died during a plague that came as punishment for the way these students mistreated each other. And it's later commentators who tell us that it was Lag BaOmer, that was the day on which the plague lifted. Now, there's no other evidence for the significance of Lag BaOmer itself, but we do have lots of other sources of evidence for the general period of Rabbi Akiva. We know that Rabbi Akiva was the leading rabbinic scholar in the generations following the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. and that he was a proponent of the rebel leader Bar Koziba, also known as Bar Kokhba, who led a Jewish rebellion against the Romans during the years 132 to 135. While we suspect that the Talmud's figure of 24,000 students is exaggerated, we do know that Rabbi Akiva was a beloved teacher with a great following. And so here's another reason that I love Lag BaOmer. In contrast to some stereotypes of rabbis as being inward-facing, studious, spiritual types, legends of Bar Kokhba and Rabbi Akiva give us an image of rabbis and their disciples as people of action, leaders in struggles for justice on the front lines of freedom. Now, it's not just rabbinic literature that tells us about this period. We also have some fascinating evidence from outside of rabbinic literature. We have coins that were minted during 3 successive years of Bar Kokhba's rebellion, decorated with symbols of the destroyed temple in Jerusalem, like the lulav, like the etrog, trumpets, the Holy Ark. The coins are inscribed with the words, year 1 of the redemption of Israel, year 2 of the freedom of Israel, and for the freedom of Jerusalem. Another amazing archaeological find was a cache of 4 letters from Bar Kokhba himself. I'm going to read you a little bit from my favorite. He writes, I have sent you 2 donkeys, and you must send with them 2 men in order that they shall pack and send to the camp palm branches and citrons, lulavim and etrogim. And you from your place send others who will bring myrtles and willows. See that they are tithed and send them to the camp. The request is made because the army is big. Be well. So here we have Bar Kokhba trying to provision his big army with lulavs and etrogs so that they can celebrate Sukkot. But despite the size of his army and the piety of his soldiers, who might have been students of Rabbi Akiva, in the end, we know that Bar Kokhba's rebellion against Rome failed miserably. The Romans put down the rebels and they made a big show of the rebellion's defeat by executing beloved leaders like Rabbi Akiva. And in fact, we remember the grisly story of his martyrdom every year during our Yom Kippur services. But to get back to Lag BaOmer, some scholars suggest that the plague described in the Talmud that decimated Rabbi Akiva's students is actually a veiled reference to the failed rebellion and the way the Romans crushed the Jewish resistance. Others say no, that what is being described as an actual plague of illness made all the more painful because of the circumstances of war. And according to this medieval tradition that I mentioned already, what happened on Lag BaOmer was simply this, that after days of plague and devastation, on Lag BaOmer, there were no new deaths, so that the surviving students or soldiers, those rebel rabbis who were Rabbi Akiva's followers, so that they could at long last bury their dead. And Lag BaOmer is a day of funerals. I must admit that until this year, this medieval tradition about the origins of Lag BaOmer left me puzzled. A day of funerals in the midst of a plague in the midst of a desperate war, hardly seemed like an occasion worth marking, let alone celebrating. But after a year of pandemic, I anticipated that Lag BaOmer would feel a little more resonant this time around. All of us have been touched by losses, by fears this year, and some of us have been directly stricken by illness and death. And one of the cruelest lessons of this time has been discovering that there are misfortunes worse than illness and death. And I'm speaking about the cruelty of being denied those rituals, those consolations that help get us through, that help make our losses bearable in normal times. And I say this knowing how your remarkable rabbis have stretched themselves to extend so much care and compassion, and how you as communities have been so present, even over Zoom. And still we know it's not the same. It's not the same as physical presence, as a caring embrace. And so having seen this past year, we can appreciate the tremendous relief that would have come with the return to regular practices of grief and mourning. And also resonant for me this year is the description of this double plague that afflicted Rabbi Akiva's students, of illness and of war, because it's not just COVID that we face this year. We have also had a reckoning with climate change, with deadly fires, and also with the lethal persistence of racist violence in this country. For all my research into the origins of Lag BaOmer, I have found only the slightest, slimmest hints of a cause for celebration, but I've come to understand that perhaps that is the point, that happy occasions need not require great victories or the kind of triumphant upheavals that we celebrate on Passover or Purim or Hanukkah. The challenge of Lag BaOmer, the invitation really, is to find reasons for joy, or to make reasons for joy, even in the midst of the most brutal times. For me, this year, the revelation hiding in the shrouded history of Lag BaOmer is that even when there really isn't much to celebrate in terms of actual history, Jewish tradition urges us to celebrate anyway. So traditionally, Lag BaOmer is a time for weddings, for picnics, for new hairdos. It's the time that even the most serious of students leave the study house to go play outside. We are living through tough times, and the wisdom of our tradition when it comes to Lag BaOmer right now is to insist that we don't get so wrapped up in waiting for and working toward victory and redemption that we don't take time for joy right now. And so may we, like the rebel rabbis of old, resist the plagues of our time by honoring our losses, lifting up those who mourn, and making space for celebration. May we take a break and take a breath. May we carry the legacy of Lag BaOmer forward as we remember the joy of living and revel in the beauty of this world. Can you hear us? So may this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.
Wow, Shabbat, Yasher Koach, thank you so much, Rabbi Mira. So, wow, that was amazing. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I had this just to speak, so today is 2 weeks since my second vaccine. So I feel like it's just like, today was the day that I kind of became sort of coming out of the plague, as it were, in a way. So thank you, that so resonated, I know, with all of us. And definitely look forward to continuing learning from you tomorrow as part of our Shabbaton. So Yasher Koach, thank you so much. So we're going to move towards the conclusion of our service tonight. Now, first by offering a prayer for healing. So as Rabbi Mira said, we're still in a time of illness and loss, and though we want to focus on joy, we also offer up our prayers for healing, for those in need of healing, healing of body, healing of mind, healing of spirit. So we'll sing the Debbie Friedman, Misha Berach, if you have words available or have committed it to memory. And if you are thinking of anyone in particular that you wish to name, I invite you to add their names into the chats or the comments, who you are thinking of, who you are holding in heart and mind for healing this evening. Thank you, Vanessa. There's a PDF of the Misha Berach there. I invite you to add names as you're so moved. And if you don't feel like sharing the names in the chat, you could just bring them to heart. Mi shebeherach ahavoteinu, mekor habracha limoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeherach limoteinu, mekor habracha lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Amen. May all those in need of healing find refuah shlema, complete healing of body and spirit. And as we offer a prayer for healing, for our individual healing, so too do we offer a prayer of communal healing for tikkun olam, repair of the world, with the Aleinu, page 121 in the Siddur. And again, we could rise as able in body or spirit. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'tei kedula liyotzeh bereshit, שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. And then all that has divided us will merge, and then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then all people will be gentle, and then all people will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young, and then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth, and then everywhere will be called Eden once again. Kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. And in reciting the Mourner's Kaddish, we affirm our awareness of holiness in our world. So much of our experience of divine goodness, grace, and love has come to us through those whose lives have touched our own. So we bring to heart and mind those loved ones that we remember at this moment. I know it's customary for probably our various congregations to offer the congregational yahrzeit list as we are joining together with the Shabbaton. That's less feasible. So I just invite you to add into the chat who you are thinking of this evening, who you are remembering, either actively mourning, who passed away recently, or remembering as a yahrzeit who passed away in years past around this season. Bring them to mind, to heart. And as we move to the Mourner's Kaddish, I'm going to, I know we've wrestled with Zoom. It's kind of our custom here at TBH to unmute everybody for the Kaddish. That way we can hear those who are reciting these sacred words and also respond as a community. We invoke the transcendent power of love and caring as we sanctify God's name. So I invite all those who are in mourning, who are observing a yahrzeit, or as custom it is to stand, please rise as for the Mourner's Kaddish. Page 131.
What page? Kalma Tivra Hirte, Yamni Amate, Eha, Behon O, Behon, Haye, Deho, Be, Yisrael, Agala, Ru,
Rabba Mavora Sela Mona Maya.
Ne'alam, Ulame, Amaya. Barak Ishtaha Man Yasei Be'er Be'yitzle Yish'ala Shemei Berichu Kol Berhata Ve'shivta V'Tushvita V'Nehemata Migran Ve'alma Ve'imnu Amen. Yesh Lema Rabami Shemaya V'Hayim Aleinu V'Alchinu Israel V'Num Amen. Shalom U'Mavach U'Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'Num Amen.
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 Shalom, amen. Shalom aleinu all your faith about Imru. Amen.
Amen.
May the one who makes peace above make peace for us, for all Israel, for all who dwell on earth. May all those who mourn find comfort and strength at this time, and may the memory of our loved ones be for a blessing always. Amen. So in a moment, we're going to conclude Ma'ariv with the counting of the Omer and a closing song. But first, we're going to go through it. Each of the congregations is going to give their congregational announcement. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. But if you have any congregational announcements that you wish to share for your congregation, I'll invite you to put them into the chat. But I will say, just by sake of announcement, just to remind everybody of the schedule tomorrow. So immediately following tonight, after we have our closing service, we're going to have the Oneg Shabbat, snacks on your own, but Rabbi David Bassior from Kadima in Seattle will be hosting the Oneg immediately following the service. So we'll have the opportunity to spend some time together. Tomorrow morning for Shabbat, we begin May Day at 9 a.m. Everything I'll say is on the same Zoom link. So you only need one Zoom link, the one you're already on. 9 a.m. we have introductory sessions. We have yoga, Torah study, and meditation. Again, we'll all come into the same Zoom room and then we'll split up into different groups. So at 9 a.m. you have your options of yoga, Torah study, or meditation, or sleeping in if you want. 10 a.m. we have a service. Our Shabbat morning service, again, led by some of our wonderful Pacific Northwest rabbis and the Torah service. From 12 to 4, we'll have a break, so have some lunch, take a nap, and then come back at 4 o'clock, where we will once again have the opportunity to learn with Rabbi Mira Wasserman from the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, another wonderful opportunity. That's 4. And then 6 to 8, again, we'll have a break. 8 o'clock, you're invited back for just informal gathering. We're just no real plan for that 8 o'clock to 9:15. But if you want to just join together and visit with people, we'll have informal gathering, and then at 9:15 we'll have Havdalah as we conclude this wonderful Shabbaton together. So you should have the schedule somewhere. I know we all sent it out. Again, remember this Zoom link. So we have, and I saw Rabbi David was putting it into the chat as well, so you can look at that as well. Beautiful. And what we could remind you. So to conclude our service tonight, again, as we making our way, as we've just learned, we're closing out Lag BaOmer. So it makes counting a little easier, right? This is always the easiest day to remember if you miss a day, because the day after Lag BaOmer, you have 33 plus 1. So let's count the Omer, and then I'll share a little Kavanah and a closing song. So if it is in the Siddur on page 675, as we count 33 plus 1. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Hayom Arba'a Ushloshim Yom Shehem Arba'a Shavuot Veshisha Yamim LaOmer. This is the 34th day, making 4 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. And we are concluding the week of, we are moving towards the end of the week of Hod here in our counting. And Hod, numerous understandings, and the one I like to focus on is Hod is that idea of humility, and how we can, if we're moving into the day of Yesod, how could we make humility fundamental, foundational to who we are? Not only actively, but also that recognition that humility is foundational to who we are. That really, I think, in order to go through life, we need to carry a bit of humility, because we know, as we heard so beautifully from Rabbi Mira about all the challenges that we're faced, and the challenges upon challenges, and the ability to remain humble and to recognize those blessings when we see them, and to celebrate the joys when we have them. Takes a humble spirit to not get overwhelmed by all that is around us. So let's conclude our service tonight. So when I think about humility, I tend to think about these words from Rabbi Nachman Gesher Tsar Me'od, that we are on a narrow bridge, and yet we have to watch out for fear, which is hard, because I think fear comes naturally to us. I know I've been walking a narrow bridge these past few weeks, and I know we all have, really, for the past year or so. So let's join together as we cross that narrow bridge together, because that's where we find some of our strength and in our humility. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od. Behaikar lo lefacher klal. Behaikar lo lefacher klal. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od. Kol haolam kulo gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od. Behaikar lo lefacher klal. Behaikar lo lefacher klal. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Zeichel Shalom, Uvoachav Shalom. May you go in peace and return in peace. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to invite you all I'm going to unmute everybody, and you unmute yourself.
Shabbat Shalom.